So I want to start with lessons learned. One of them that we were talking about this morning when we were doing our workout was making decisions on blended reasons, or having like a blended strategy for how we're gonna win doing these 5 things, and why that sounds like a good idea to the average person, but it's actually a very bad idea. Can you explain that?
Yeah, and I wrote this piece online, like 9 lessons from Peter Thiel. I sent to all of Palantir. That's been like sent to all of my other companies as well, and it's one of my favorite pieces. And that's one of them. And it's one of these logic things where usually there's like one reason that dominates everything else, and that's just the nature of the world. Is that when something's successful, it's kind of like the power law rule, right? Like in a venture capital like fund, even there tends to be one thing that's successful that's like bigger than everything else, and that's true inside of companies as well. It's very unusual, like extraordinarily unusual, for there to be like 2 similarly equal like products or revenue lines or something like that,
right?
Especially early on in a company. So usually, if you think you have like 2 or 3 reasons for doing something, or 5 reasons for doing something, what that means is that you actually haven't figured out.
You have no
actual reason.
You have no strong reason.
You have no strong reason yet.
Yeah.
Like that means you have 5 weak reasons, which is not good. You want to find like what's like one really strong thing you're driving towards. And that's how startups work. And it's a really seductive trick. I mean, first of all, you have to be taking a big risk to even do a startup, it feels like, rather than like, a lot of people like do incubators because they're like, oh, I don't want to do one company. I'm going to do 10 companies. Right. And like, by the way, that's like much less likely to have big success because you're not focused. So even within a company, they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to be like, well, here's 5 ways I'm going to make money. And like, no, man. If you really want to do a company, figure out the way you're going to make money. And that tends to be how it works, And
that applies to revenue streams. So 8 revenue streams means you probably don't have one awesome revenue stream.
Exactly.
Growth strategies. If you have 7 things we're going to do for growth, means you haven't figured out
which one's actually the one that's going to work.
The one that's going to just compound like crazy.
And it may change over time, but what's the thing that's working now that you're pushing on? Yeah.
And then the other version of that is blended reasons for doing something. I think I read once Reid Hoffman uses the same philosophy, and he gave the example of, oh, if there's like a trip to China and I'm deciding, should I go to China? It's far away. It's going to take 2 weeks. And should I do this trip? He's like, and my chief of staff came with like a list of pros and cons.
Yeah, it's like multiple pros.
Multiple pros and then a couple of cons. That's almost impossible. It's a guaranteed way to make mediocre decisions, is to do long blended lists of
If you don't have a key reason to be there, like stick to your work. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what he said. He's like, if we don't have one reason that alone is worth doing, then we should just say no. Is that something you do?
Reid was one of the key minds at PayPal, of course, with Peter Thiel and others. So who knows who actually came up with these ideas? It may all just be Reid's ideas that I'm recycling, but he's a very smart guy.
Well, I say them as if they're mine now. So I think